Our seventh chapter is Rise of Popular Movements. We have already heard about what are social movements. Social movements are mass movements. These movements may against some social issues or to protect the environment or to protect some human rights. Such movements are called social movements. So in this chapter, we have to go through 4 social movements. They are important as per the examination. The first one is Chipko Movement. I think you may have heard already this name, Chipko Movement, Chipko Prasthanam. This is actually an environmental protest against some persons who try to destroy the environments. It formed in Uttarakhand region. You know, Uttarakhand region is some hilly areas, especially it lies near the Himalayan ranges. Majority of the people lived in that villages they are working in agricultural field. They are farmers or peasants. They approached the authority to get sanction to cut down some trees for making agricultural tools. Because many of the natives or the villagers working in the field of agriculture, they wanted to make some agricultural tools. So they approached the government. But the government rejected them and they did not give permission to cutting down trees from the forest areas. Later, a large sports company approached the government authority for sanction to fell down some trees. They wanted to make some sports equipment. Then the government ordered to give sanction to the sports company. That actually provoked the villagers. They started a strike against this cutting down of trees, is really known as, that was the origin of the Chipko movement. As we know, Sundarlal Bahuguna was the leader of this Chipko movement. It was a particular type of strike. It was a particular type of protest. The actual protest was not only against the authority, but to protect the environment. What actually happened in those days that when the woodcutters in favor of the sports company came there to cut down the trees, a large mass in the villages, especially women, gathered together to protest against, and the women actually came around the trees having their hands in hands and encircled the trees, and they did not allow the woodcutters to cut down the trees. That was a new type of protest. Later this type of protest or this type of strike spread all over the world. Then the sports company try another trick on the villages. They supplied a bundle of alcohol, a large amount of alcohol to persuade the men of the villages. But the women realized this fact and they objected it also. They upheld a slogan: they will protect the environment, the water and the river, the earth are for the villagers. Due to this strike, they succeeded in the end. The government ordered to banish cutting down trees from the Himalayan ranges for the next 15 years. That was the success of the Chipko movement. I think you have seen a picture regarding this movement. Some women encircling around trees hand by hand to protect the trees. So this movement is very important and it may be asked for the examination. Our second social movement was Dalit Panthers. As the name indicates, it was an organization of the Dalit. The Dalit gathered against the social issues and formed the Dalit Panthers. It was a militant organization. It was very strengthy. As we know that the Dalit people were suppressed by the upper caste people from the ancient India itself. So they protest against the government authority to get their rights. Their immediate need was to get their reservation. We know that our constitution provides some articles regarding the reservation of the Dalit people. We have studied in our first year classes about protective discrimination. To uplift the downtrodden society was the aim. But during this time, they did not get their reservation seats. So they protested against this. And untouchability was there. Many of the reasons for untouchability and examples for untouchability we have already learned even from our primary classes. They could not participate in public. They could not go to education with other peoples. Many of the problems were suffered by these downtrodden lower caste people, the Dalits. And social discrimination was there. They would not be allowed to come to public and participate with other people. All these human rights violations were the cause of the formation of the Dalit movement. So they organized a union, a militant union against authority and the people. That was known as Dalit Panthers. They took different types of strike methods against the authority and the people. So it was called a militant organization. It was a strengthy organization. Up to a limit, they succeeded to attain their aims. But later, years after, the Dalit movement split, and that weakened the strength of the movement. In the end, it could not sustain. That was the history of the Dalit Panthers. Our third social movement is anti-Arrack movement, Charaya Viruddha Prasthanam. Even it is a simple topic, it has greater importance in our question paper, because we can see that in all previous question papers, this question, the development of anti-Arrack movement, it may be the social importance of this area, because the government and all we are against the use of drugs, and we are against intoxication, we are against alcoholism. We have to get an awareness regarding this. So I think this question is asked in the question papers. It was originated in Andhra Pradesh. There was a village, Deebakunda, in which some women, adult women or some aged women used to participate in adult literacy program in their village. They are tried to be literate in that ages. At that time, a discussion came between them, and they discussed about the bad habit of alcoholism of their husbands and what provoked them, and what were the disturbances made by the men in their homes. They assumed that economic degradation, bad health condition are the result of excess alcoholism. That was the discussion happened in the literacy class. That led to the formation of the anti-Arrack movement. Excess use of alcohol by their husbands affected the family relations. They inflicted the women and children in their homes. Their economic condition became very bad. That was the reason for the formation of this anti-Arrack movement. This movement was formed by a lot of women who lived together in the villages. They formed an organization and protested against the use and production of alcohol in their villages. But as a result of which, the gangs relating to the alcohol attacked the women Many of them were molested, and they tried to devastate the entire strike from the village. But the women, they sustained there, and later it was a success against the fight against alcoholism. That was the history of the anti-Arrack movement. Later this women organization discussed about domestic violence, dowry related problems, and the atrocities against women were their subjects. And it was a strong movement regarding this. Then another social movement was Narmadha Bachao andolan. It is also an environmental protection movement. I think you have heard this name before. Under the leadership of Narmadha Bachao, this was a strong movement against destruction of the environment. We have to examine what caused this formation. Government decided to construct 30 big dams and a lot of small dams in the Narmada river and its tributaries. Actually, the intention of the government was specific, and the intention of the government was very good. It was very helpful for the people to make the drinking water available to the people. The water in the dams may be used for agricultural purposes. More electricity can be produced by using this dam water. And many of the usefulness or benefits to the community was intended by the government. But the problem behind this was rehabilitation. What happened when such kind of project? This project was known as Sardar Sarovar project. It was very huge project of making a lot of dams in the Narmada and its tributary rivers. It would create many environmental issues. About 2.5 lakh people will be evacuated from the site, and many of the dwellers will be lost their dwellings. About more than 200 villages will be gone underwater by making these dams. Many of the environmental ecosystem will be affected. Many of the wild animals will lose their life. All these difficulties have to be faced by the innocent people. So under the leadership of Narmadha Bachao, they formed a union that was known as Narmadha Bachao andolan. Their immediate demand was rehabilitation and compensation. Proper rehabilitation should be given to the people who evacuated from the site. ജനങ്ങളെ വേണ്ട രീതിയിൽ പുനരധിവസിപ്പിക്കണം. ആൻഡ് കോമ്പൻസേഷൻ ഷുഡ് ബി ഗിവൺ. അവർക്ക് ആവശ്യമായ നഷ്ടപരിഹാരം നൽകണം. They approached the Supreme Court and many of the legal activities were done. But they did not get the support of not much politicians or political parties, because many people got many advantages from these projects. That was the reality. But at the same time, this movement stood with the price of this project. Supreme Court or the higher authority of such legal institutions did not ready to stand with this type of people. So they did not get enough support from the politicians also. Later they demanded proper rehabilitation. When the people were evacuated from the site, they should give enough space for their living. And many people lost their agricultural land and something else. In that conditions, the government should be ready to give their compensation. A long period of strike. As a result of the long period of strike, they able to attain many of their demands. That was the history of the Narmadha Bachao andolan. Our next social movement is Bharatiya Kisan Union, BKU. This is an agricultural organization protecting their rights of the farmers. It has greater importance today. We know that the an agricultural strike is going on at the against the central government in the North India for the last 1 year. In such a condition, this topic is also important, but the important area of this question is the demand of the farmers at the time of their strike. The farmers came forward demanding higher floor price for sugarcane and wheat. At that time, wheat and sugarcane were the largest to produce. So they demanded higher floor price. Floor price means taravila, tanguvila. A right that which government provided to the agricultures. When the price of the agriculture produce decrease, this happened. And the second demand was free interstate movement of farm produce. Farm produce means the agricultural products, especially vegetables and fruits. They demanded to allow interstate movement to sell their produce. And the third demand was regular electricity supply at lower rates. That was also a demand. Another important demand was to write off the pending amount of their loan amounts. And they also demanded a pension for farmers when they are aged. All these were the demands put forward by Bharatiya Kisan Union, was also important as far as the examination is concerned. Okay.